G'day folks, how's your 2024 treating you so far? Mine's not too bad, not a lot going on other than work, and I've just come to an end of a stint of work and I have nothing to follow on at the moment, but that's good because I do have a project of sorts to do, although it's not a passion project. I'm going to swap out my work car, which is a 2005 Ford Falcon VA. I'm going to swap out the tub, canopy and roof rack with a tray, another canopy, and I'm yet to find a longer roof rack. The Falcon is a great work vehicle, however I'm always having to pull stuff out to put stuff in. I just can't get all of my work gear in there at one time, and I need something bigger. So I also, at one point, just to make things easier, those side windows on the current canopy are just impossible to pull things out of. There's not enough space, not enough width in the window, and it's up at chest level. Kind of hard to, lift something out. So I built a slide out drawer system for it, which made things a lot easier. I could come all the way out past the tailgate and just lift things out at, waist level. However, it can always be better. So I found a second-hand tray, which is a lot longer. So the original, I've got about 1.8 meters or 6 foot of space inside with the tailgate closed. This tray is 2.4 meters or 8 foot long and around about almost 2 meters wide, so over 6 foot wide. And then I found separately the aluminium canopy with a very strong steel frame, and that's about 2.4 meters, 8 foot long, and almost 2 meters, so only just a tad over 6 foot wide. A lot more space, and I'm hoping that once the tray is fitted with these side lift up doors and the back door on the new canopy, or new old canopy, it'll all be at waist level and I'll be able to just slide things in and out and actually fit a lot more in there. So that's where I'm at. I'm now going to attempt to remove all of the canopy, roof rack and style side tub off my Falcon. I do have the Volkswagen camper van as my backup in case some work comes along and I need to go to work. And I also bought this very nifty little trailer, enclosed trailer. It's only 160 kilograms in weight. I'm not sure what that is in pounds, but it has a capacity of carrying 560 kilograms, or just over half a ton. And so that'll gets me away from packing all the work gear in the middle of the van and on the bed, which was very annoying. And it's not so heavy a trailer that the gutless van can't pull. And so I'll be able to take all the basics to work if I need to do something, because I don't know how long the Falcon's going to be out of action. I'm not going to know the mounting situation of the new second-hand tray to the chassis of the Falcon until literally I can see the chassis. So uncharted waters for me. I've just got to get everything off and then see how it fits. So there may be some fabrication involved in actually fitting this tray. It'd be a miracle if it just directly fits. That would be fantastic, but we're going to find that out. The canopy and the roof rack are one system, so they'll come off together, and then the style side tub comes off as well. So time to get to it while I have the time. It's a beautiful day. It's going to be slightly warm. Not a passion project, but a needful project, and it'll greatly improve my work conditions. So I have the time, and it's time to do it. I say come back onto the car, Grant. Oh? Come back onto the car. Yep, like that. And then keep going forward and let it sort of tilt. Whoa, I'm losing it. I'm losing it. We've got to get to the ground quickly now. Alright. Let it go down. Alright.
again.
Step 1. Hang on. Clear the thingy. Heavy. Just tilt it over, stand it up on its tailgate. Jesus, I cannot. But hang on. Onto the tailgate. Oh, push hard. Be careful. Just go straight down to the ground from there. Little one.
Oh, there's no turning back now, Marky.
Well, that's enough for one day. We got all of the canopy, rack and tub off the vehicle. It wasn't too hard, a little bit of mucking about here and there, but otherwise pretty straightforward. So all I've got to do now is decide whether or not the new canopy or the new tray lines up with those mountings. So I managed to figure out a way to mount straight parallel mounting rails from the tray to the Falcon chassis, which doesn't have straight parallel mounting points on the chassis. There's only about 2 that are in line on either side. There's 5 points and 2 are in line, whereas the 3 are kind of scattered because the chassis changes direction. So I had to work out a way to, run parallel rails and therefore mounting points on the tray onto that. So I basically have 2 each going into the existing Falcon chassis, 2 mounting points on either side. Up against the cab, those 2 were the widest apart, so I had to basically just use some flat steel to extend across. So I've fixed it to the chassis mounting point, but the steel that extends out to meet with the railing has holes drilled, and then of course nuts and bolts in there, and that's a mounting point, so it's kind of floating. And then there's 2 in the middle of the 5 on either side are floating mount points for the tray. And also in the middle, the mounting point on the Falcon chassis needed an L bracket, first of all, to mount one hole to the chassis, and then into the wall of the rail, nuts and bolts again. So technically on each side there are 3 points fixed to the chassis of the Falcon, and then 2 points on each side are generally floating. If you understand what I mean by all that, it's going to be pretty strong. Hopefully they're centimetre perfect or millimetre perfect as far as their width placement, and all I got to do is jack up the tray, drive back underneath, place it in, check it all off, and then hopefully just bolt it all up and it will be all good. We're getting there. Alright, we're now ready to precariously back the car under the precariously jacked up tray. Well, I now have one bloody big tray on the back of the Falcon. That is much bigger than the old one. The sides and the back gates won't be on the tray. I just wanted to put it on to see what it looked like. But I am very happy that I got that on today, and it all fitted with the rails and the mounts. Everything solved, totally solid. Makes quite a difference. Changes the car altogether. Moving on. Canopy. And then of course I've got to find at least a 3 metre roof rack. Pack rack, roof rack. For the top that'll come over the roof of the vehicle. Alright, I'll park it back up and go have a coffee, I think. Whew, we're having a heat wave here, folks. A late summer heat wave. Coming into mid-March, almost. 3 days in a row of 35 degrees Celsius. I think that's somewhere up in the 80s, isn't it? Fahrenheit. Maybe even into the 90s, I'm not sure. But just hot weather. I just fitted a roof rack to the canopy prior to backing the car underneath it and fitting off the canopy. A little bit of a serendipitous moment. I bought the canopy without a rack, and the canopy has some obvious 6 mounting points on the roof. So whatever was on there didn't mount in the gutters on the side, it was mounted to the roof. And so I got the canopy with all intention of, you know, searching for the right pack rack. Of which I did, and bookmarked several. And I did bookmark this one in particular, which unfortunately it's 3 hours away. But its mounting system almost looked like an exact fit. So I just bookmarked it and just kept waiting, hoping something else would come up close. But then I decided, you know what, I'm going to inquire about this and see if I can get the person to measure the centre to centre holes of those mounts to see whether or not they match mine. Turns out that rack that is for sale, or was for sale, used to be on that canopy. Because the guy with the pack rack sent me a picture of a car and canopy that it used to be on. I immediately recognised the car and the canopy because the canopy is the one I bought. And the car was on the canopy that the guy who bought the car and canopy off the guy with the pack rack, he sold the canopy to me. So it used to be all one item, this car, canopy and pack rack. The guy kept the pack rack when he sold the car and canopy because he thought he might fit it to another car of his, but it didn't work out, and so he then put up the pack rack for sale. So as soon as I found out it used to be sitting on that canopy, I just said, sold, I'll come and get it. And relatively cheap, really, a couple of $100. It's hard to find something good for around about that price, but finding the exact match of the rack that used to be on it, that was just pure chance. And so I spent yesterday, the first of our heatwave days, driving all the way up there, 3 hours. It was about a 7-hour turnaround drive. And so all I had to do, fit it up, line up the holes, and fit off 12 bolts. And now all I've got to do is drive under this thing, sit it on there, and then secure it down to the tray. But we have another really hot one tomorrow, so maybe I can get up early and get that backed under that canopy and maybe get it done in half a day, who knows. I also, can you see my lights? My LED lights on the back of the tray there. I've mounted them and they just need to be hooked up. So that's it for now. Balmy evening. Flies. Time for a coffee in air-conditioned comfort. I had my coffee in the air-conditioned comfort. The heat of the day has subsided, still warm. It's just far too good of an evening to be inside.
More. Keep going, another 6 inches. Keep going, stop. Now we push.
One final.
Yep.
Well, the canopy is on and it's all secure and bolted down. The fact that these two didn't match, this canopy to this tray, the back of the tray has a little slightly sloping up area to it. And so when you set the canopy down, you basically had a little gap that went down to nothing. So I had to get the grinder out, cut an angle just on the back on each side of the canopy so it would drop and close up that gap, which is not an issue for me. Down each side I will run some waterproof sealant along each side so no water can ingress underneath. It's excellent though. It's quite the upgrade. Size, length, width, everything's there. Extremely easy access. One thing is noticeable though is that this tray sitting on the chassis of the Falcon actually towards the back angles slightly down. So because I've got two bolts directly into the chassis at the back here on either side, I'm going to release them, jack up and put packers in there to try and get that a little bit more level. Other than that though, it's just a matter of sealing it just along the outside so no water can get in. one of the side windows and the back window are cracked, or the side one has got, you know, hairline fractures, quite a few of them, and the back one actually has, you know, like it took a stone or a rock or something like that. So down the track I'll get them replaced. I'm just looking forward to Wednesday when I get the auto electrician to hook up the lights and also check a couple of things in the front of the car anyway. Then I'm good to go. Oh yeah, and I've got to fit a couple of mud guards yet and a couple of mud flaps, but it was more about getting all this ready so the auto electrician can work on it and wire up this internal light for me as well. In a pinch, if my camper is off the road, this will more than adequately fulfill camping, just not four-wheel driving. There's just so much room in this thing. I think I'll get all my work gear in there and still have room to spare. I got some ute rubber liner, not cheap, but very much need a non-slip surface. And I've already tested it, nothing moves, it's really good. I had to buy a couple of locking bars for the two side, so a pair of locking bars each for the two side doors. Only the back had it, and so it's much more secure now, and it's fully lockable. Once the canopy was shoved up as far as it would go up the front, it actually overhung the tray by about 30 to 40 millimeters. So you could slip your fingers up there, you could close the door and lock it, but there was an air gap. So I thought I might want to close that to stop any critters getting in, that kind of thing, and a potential chance to grip the door and, you know, try to break it open. So I bridged that gap with some hard rubber stripping and fixed it to the tray, and it just flaps over on the end there, but closes up the gap. The door closes on it, so that's good. We had a little bit of rain the other day, which was really good because it highlighted a leak point in the roof. It's right down the centre spine, top of the roof there, and that's where it was coming in, and it was just dripping straight down. So all I've got to do is get some roof and gutter sealant, clear sealant, and just run it right across both sides of that join spine, so to speak, and that'll seal that up and totally watertight, I think. And that's my Falcon makeover from a relatively small original tub, canopy and roof rack, where, you know, I constantly had to choose not what to put in, to something that's going to fit absolutely everything. The other thing I also did was I loosened the bolts holding it into the chassis, jacked it up and packed it. Probably not as far as it could go for a more, you know, level approach, but it definitely improved on the eye as far as that downward slope towards the back. And so that could be, I could come back to that in the future with actual, you know, crossbars, pre-drilled holes, jack it up and get it perfectly right. But you also need a very level surface to take measurements off. But it's pleasing to the eye, it looks okay, this thing is work ready. and I'm wrapped with it. It's a great improvement. On that note, here endeth the video. Hope you're doing well, folks. As always, stay well. And I hope this year is as good as it can possibly be for you. Stay positive, live well, sleep well, and I'll see you next time.